Jehovahs passed away recently. You may have heard Brother Jehovahs was a senior member of the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. And he died of natural causes, as it were. However, about a year before his death, Brother Jehovahs began looking a little bit ill. He just looked a little bit under the weather, and this concerned his personal physician, the Bethel staff doctor. And the doctor there at Bethel requested that Brother Jehovahs make an appointment with him, get a full physical checkup. Brother Jehovahs, being a very headstrong member of the governing body, ignored this request and continued working every day. He stayed at the top of the Watchtower building and continued with his duties. Nevertheless, the Bethel doctor felt compelled to insist that Brother Jehovahs make an appointment with him. And in fact, he called to the top of the Watchtower building and said, "I'm sorry to be a bother, but it's very important that Brother Jehovahs come in for his checkup." If you don't understand the dynamic here, let me explain it to you. Governing body members are of the faithful and discreet slave class, and they are the lords and masters of all other Jehovah's Witnesses, including the Bethel doctor. You need to understand, this man's position, this man's future, is at the mercy of someone like Brother Jehovahs. He's the king of Jehovah's Witnesses, and this puts the doctor in a very precarious situation. He understands that he has to tread very lightly with an important man like Brother Jehovahs. And look, in this situation, doctor has to choose his words very gently. But nevertheless, his duties as a doctor, he called again and said, I must insist that Brother Jehovahs come and see me. We need to do some medical testing. Today. Later that morning, knock, knock, knock on the office door. The doctor says, "Come in." But it's not Brother Jehovahs. It's a young Bethelite. And the doctor says, "I'm sorry, I was expecting Brother Jehovahs." To which the young Bethelite says, "Brother Jehovahs is a very important man, and he's very busy today, so he sent me down to see what it is you want." And the doctor says, "It's a medical issue, and it's of a personal nature. I'd rather speak to him." And the young Bethelite says, "I am Brother Jehovah's personal assistant. Anything you can say to him, you can say to me." And the doctor says, "Okay, I'm going to need some lab samples from Brother Jehovahs. I need a blood sample, I need a urine sample, I need a stool sample, and I need a sperm sample." And the young Bethelite says, "Let me get this straight. You need Brother Jehovahs to give you blood, urine, feces, and semen." And the Bethel doctor says, "Yes." And the young Bethelite says, "Okay, I will relay this message to Brother Jehovahs." And he walks out the door, and the doctor says, "Ay, ay, ay, what a day." About an hour later, somebody comes walking back into the doctor's office, but it's not Brother Jehovahs. It's the young Bethelite again. And the doctor says, "Hello, I'm sorry, I was expecting Jehovahs." And The young Bethelite says, Brother Jairus is very busy with meetings all day, and he can't make it, but it's okay. And the Bethel doctor says, no, it's not okay. I really do need those lab samples. And the young Bethelite says, no problem. Brother Jairus sent you his underwear.
Now for a mind-blowing Watchtower study, entitled Everyone Wants to Be Free. Oh, if only worldly people could experience the freedom of being a Jehovah's Witness. It's like soaring through the air. Clouds all around you as you dip and dive. Feeling the rush. Experiencing the pure joy of being a JW in Jehovah's organization. A search for the right religion. Ever since childhood, some people have searched for satisfying answers to their questions about life. When they were young, they may have attended religious services, but many of them found that neither the answers given nor the church rituals really helped them to cope with the problems of life. They may say that they still belong to the religion of their parents, although they seldom attend religious services. In recent years, they may have been appalled as priests in one place after another have been charged with sexually abusing the children put in their charge. At first, people thought that only a few priests were to blame. Now some of them wonder whether something is fundamentally wrong with the church itself. Jehovah is reasonable, brothers. The wisdom from above is reasonable. This is a very reasonable thing you're looking at here. Man-made rules, such as elaborate cleansing, have made worship burdensome. Man-made rules. God, how I hate false religion. Obligation to God. Some baptized Christians need to pray earnestly because they are not living up to their ministerial obligations they assumed when they made a dedication to God and His Spirit-directed organization. Annually, well over 300,000 have been baptized for a number of years now, but the overall number of active witnesses of Jehovah has not kept pace, as indicated by our record-keeping. Unless they have the most extraordinary limitations because of health or other factors beyond their control, baptized individuals who are no longer serving as active witnesses of God in Christ are not living up to their whole obligation before our grand creator, Frederick Franz. We urge all of you, weigh your decisions carefully, very carefully. Armageddon survivors will enjoy fruits of the earth, as seen here. Fruit. It's up to you. What theocratic rule by Jehovah will do? Restore feeble old people to youthful vigor. Ah! Here we have members of our beloved governing body. They're holding a book signing and autographing Bibles. They're autographing Bibles. Why disfellowshipping is a loving arrangement from God, our Creator in heaven. Many people may be surprised to learn that among Jehovah's Witnesses, disfellowshipping, the equivalent of excommunication, is taken seriously. Granted, this is not an easy action to take. Now, the paperwork alone takes 20 minutes. But it is a loving arrangement. How so? Well, it upholds God's name, which otherwise could not be upheld. Is this Bible law harsh and demeaning? Well, just consider this. When a hardened criminal is sent to prison for breaking the law, is that viewed as harsh or cold-hearted? No. Because the public has the right to safeguard the peace and security of the community, which is disrupted by people having sex. In effect, the criminal is disfellowshipped from the law-abiding society during his prison term. But it's a loving arrangement. Similarly, the Christian congregation is justified in expelling unrepentant wrongdoers from their midst. Why? Because the congregation must be a haven from immoral predators and other willful practices of sin. Like pedophiles, for instance. Realizing that one sinner can destroy much good, the Apostle Paul commanded fellow believers, "Remove the wicked man from amongst yourselves." This action prevents the sinner from spreading corruption in the congregation, and it protects the congregation's good name, which Jehovah's Witnesses have proven. Disfellowshipping also protects individual members of the congregation. Let us illustrate. Imagine being roused from a sleep by the noisy blast of a car horn or alarm. Oh! I'm imagining it! God damn, that's loud! The piercing sound is difficult to ignore. Indeed, it startles you. Likewise, when someone is expelled from the congregation, the action hopefully grabs the attention of every member of the flock. It disturbs their senses. It cannot be ignored. Hopefully it chills them to the bone. How may this be a protection? Well, it is. Return to God. As hard as it was, said one Christian who was expelled for a time, the discipline was necessary and much needed, and it proved to be life-saving. Well, not literally, but yeah. This highlights another important aspect of disfellowshipping, and there's so many important aspects to it. It's a many nuanced thing that really drives home the need not to have sex. It can move previously unrepentant sinners to take their first steps back to God. That is what happened to Richard. After being disfellowshipped for almost 2 years, he repented, corrected his God-dishonoring conduct, and was accepted back into the congregation, somewhat. Looking back, he says regarding the experience, "I realized that I had to be disfellowshipped, and that I fully deserved what I got. It was really necessary, and helped me to see just how serious my course was, and the need to seek Jehovah's forgiveness." Discipline may not be easy to endure. Accepting it requires humility, but those who learn from it reap bountiful fruitage. The article on masturbation does a fine job of explaining why the habit is wrong, but offers little actual help on how to avoid doing it. We are urged to deaden our body members, but we are not told how to do this. Keep it zipped up, Jack. That's how. I became very upset when I read your article on masturbation. I never thought that it was wrong, since I have never had any guilt feelings because of practicing it. That made me think, if masturbation is wrong, how can those of us who are too young to marry relieve the sexual desires so common at our age? Further, what about the didactic value of masturbation, that is, the youth's discovery of the natural functions of his organ by having an orgasm? Oh, masturbation is not a necessary way for youth to learn about orgasm, since the body cares for this in a natural way. You are the way God expects us to be. As part of their regular security checks at the gates, the security police searched every car entering and leaving the property. They were astonished when they were greeted with friendliness, patience, and respect by the delegates. Once the chief of security became aware of the cooperative conduct of Jehovah's Witnesses, he decided that it was not necessary to search the cars. Because, he said, you are so well disciplined. Consequently, cars identified with a JW parking sticker were granted entrance without being searched. Indeed, the power of Jehovah. This security man was so impressed with the cooperative spirit of Jehovah's Witnesses that he turned off his brain, stopped thinking, became derelict in his duties.
Won't see with my
the weather, and this concerned his personal physician, the Bethel staff doctor. And the doctor there at Bethel requested that Brother Jairus make an appointment with him, get a full physical checkup. Brother Jairus, being a very headstrong member of the governing body, ignored this request and continued working every day. He stayed at the top of the Watchtower building and continued with his duties. Nevertheless, Jairus passed away recently. You may have heard Brother Jairus was a senior member of the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. And he died of natural causes, as it were. However, about a year before his death, Brother Jairus began looking a little bit ill. He just looked